So we have scary times coming because according to more and more reports, China versus the United States is going to end up in a war. That is what we are getting from many reports, many experts, and some world leaders. Now, what's going on and why have tensions increased so much, especially over the past few months? Well, that's what we're going to discuss in today's video. All I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoyed these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So yes, these are scary, scary times. According to the FBI and Homeland Security, they are saying that the threat levels in the United States have been the highest they have been in decades. And as far as abroad, for our military and personnel, well, we are now seeing that their threat level is the highest it has been in decades as well. That's concerning. But why is this? Well, we could say it's in part due to the Russia and Ukraine war. Yes. We could say it's also in part due to this Israel versus Hamas war. Yes. But it actually has to do with something and somebody even greater and bigger. China. China is now threatening the United States in multiple ways. One of which President Biden is now considering something that former President Donald Trump did. Yes, he's looking at a Trump policy in order to combat China. How crazy is that? But here's what we learned just the other day. The Chinese President Xi Jinping, he straight up told President Biden that China is going to take over Taiwan, and this could end in a war. He straight up told him that China will take over Taiwan. He did not give him a timeline. Some were expecting, or the Pentagon was predicting it would happen sometime in 2025 or potentially as late as 2027. President Xi Jinping said, no, I have not actually come up with a timeline yet, so you're wrong. But that doesn't mean we are necessarily wrong. It just means he doesn't want that timeline exposed. The other thing, when he said they will take over Taiwan, he came out and said that, well, he doesn't want a war. He doesn't want to escalate the situation, but he just wants to reunify Taiwan with mainland China and do it peacefully. And he expected the Biden administration to come out and provide a public statement saying that they support China. But President Biden said, no, absolutely not. We're not going to do that. Well, that angered China. This is one of the reasons why the United States and China are seeing tensions at the highest level they have been. Well, good news. The U.S. and China militaries are going to start talking again after this very dangerous rupture. Because what we have faced and seen over the past few months is the tensions between the United States and China have only escalated. But it makes it worse because China and Russia are working together. The United States is trying to work with Taiwan and protecting Taiwan. Again, this is something that China doesn't want. And especially when China is right there next to Taiwan, it makes more sense. But again, they're asking, why does the United States have such a big interest in Taiwan? Well, it actually is pretty understandable. Here's one thing I can tell you. Xi Jinping and Russia's prime minister, they took a victory lap over the U.S.'s failure to economically isolate Russia since its invasion of Ukraine. And what we do know is that right now, and these two met yesterday, but right now, Russia is claiming that the Russia and Chinese trade is at an all-time high. Okay, Russia is claiming that. They're saying that what the United States attempting to do to isolate Russia over Ukraine didn't work. It did not work, and now Russia is bouncing back. They're doing quite well. So they are taking this victory lap saying that, yes, what the United States did didn't work. No big deal. So if China were to try and attack Taiwan and invade Taiwan to reunify it, whether it's peacefully or not, guess what? They're not concerned because what the United States did to Russia was nothing. We did absolutely nothing. And this is something that I pointed out almost 2 years ago. that if the United States didn't step up and do something outside of sanctions, because if sanctions didn't work, China was going to be looking at that situation between Russia and Ukraine. And if China felt like, yeah, there's no reason for us to be concerned, the United States is doing nothing. Well, guess what? China would have more of a reason to go and attack and invade Taiwan at that time. They're still considering it. And this was just that pretty much President Xi Jinping telling Biden, we are going to take over Taiwan. It's just a matter of when. Not if, but when. So, that's what's interesting at this time, is that what the United States did absolutely nothing to Russia as far as what China's concerned. So again, this brings up the question, is the United States and China getting closer to a war? The answer as of right now is yes. But there are a couple other things that have happened over the past few days. I want to explain what they are. Here's one of them that we just got reports of this morning. It says China bans exports of some rare earth processing technology. Now, what does this mean? Well, here's what you need to understand. Right now, China is still allowed to export some rare earth minerals. Okay, some of them are like cobalt. They have it's not a huge list, but some of them that China has responded with restrictions to export are graphite, germanium, and even gallium. Those are some of the ones that they have restrictions on. But China, they are dominating the global rare earth refining. Look at this. This is what it is. 100% of heavy rare earths and 85% of light rare earths. That's concerning. Well, the United States uses these rare earth minerals in order for things like smart cars, electric cars, things like that. But here's the problem. China is dominating the processing technology. So they're not banning exports of the minerals. That is still allowed, but they're banning the export of the rare earth processing technology. So their technology, because they've been working on this for decades, I think 20 or 30 years. So the United States and other countries are far behind. Well, the United States is attempting to start to process these minerals, right? And create the technology. Again, we're far behind China. So China is saying they are going to ban the export of some of their rare earth processing technology. Not all of it, but some. This is concerning to us here in the United States because we need this. We absolutely need this, especially aligning with what President Biden is doing right now and trying to move away and move more towards renewable and sustainable energy. So we'll see what happens there. But in the meantime, while this is happening, guess what the United States is doing? Because China did one thing, now the United States is going to respond. And what President Biden is considering is something that former President Donald Trump really did. Look at this. It says the U.S. is considering hiking tariffs on China's EVs solar products. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. It says the White House eyes completing tariff review early in 2024. It says the impact of yuan of reported potential tariff hikes seen limited. Yes, it may be limited as far as the their money's concerned, but what this is going to do, it's going to increase tensions. That's all it's going to do. But here's one thing I can tell you. Moving forward, all these tensions between China and Russia are going to be heightened. Okay? They're going to be elevated. One of the other things that we need to look into is how does President Biden, moving forward, how does he fix this between Russia and China? Well, some say between Russia, he can't. He does not have the ability to fix any situation with Russia. As far as China, maybe, but it hasn't been seen yet. The other question is, how could former President Donald Trump fix things between Russia and China? Well, he has a plan, he says. Now, whether this plan works or not, the only way to tell is you implement the plan and then you see it through, and then in the end, we'll determine whether or not it worked or made tensions worse. But as of right now, that's one of the main concerns, is we are less than 1 year away from a presidential election. And who is going to be the president? Will it be current President Biden? Be former President Donald Trump? Maybe somebody else? Former President Donald Trump will have a little bit of a tougher task at this point because he has been banned from even being on the ballot in the state of Colorado. So, it's interesting how things are moving forward, but the one thing that I can tell you is that the US and China are closer to a war now than we have ever been in the past. So, that's where we're at this time. As always, as I know more, I promise, I'll come back on and share all the latest news and updates, but that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.